Good afternoon, boys and girls. This is Story Time with Miss Tracey. Today is our first attempt at reading a story together. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I am not in my routine, things seem a little bit weird. And so I'm guessing that you are feeling a little bit strange right now. You may even have some questions that you'd like to ask. If you would like your parents to send me some questions, then I'm going to give you my email address. It is Tracey, T-R-A-C-E-Y, .Harris, H-A-R-R-I-S, at first, FIRSTCHURCHWG.org. That's firstchurch.org. So if you need a little help, ask your parents. But be sure and send me your questions. Anything. Ask me anything. So if you have some questions, feel free to send them and we will answer them in the coming days. I'm going to record more stories, but today's the first story. The first story is about the terrible dreads, and we'll read that in a minute. I also want to tell you that other days we may next week turn to doing some cooking in the kitchen, because we do that sometimes in Sunday school, don't we? We go into the kitchen and make projects together. And so I want this to be a time when we can do some things that might help you learn and that we can be together. So the first book, let's go ahead and begin. I will read and then I will turn the pictures around so you at home can join me. The Terrible Dreads, and it's by Nancy Gooding. Nancy Gooding not only wrote the book, but she illustrated the book as well, which is really special. A lot of authors don't illustrate their own books. I bet all of you at home would like to be an author and an illustrator. So after I read this book, if you so choose, you can write a book too and color the pictures that go along with the story. And then any of them you would like to share, you may also send along to me, and I will share them with some of the other adults that are maybe not able to go out right now. Some of our elderly friends aren't able to go out into the sunshine in the neighborhood and go to any place. So if we're under quarantine, that means sometimes we have to stay at home, and we can still share pictures and stories together. Did you ever wake up on a sunny day and before you could plan to work or play, before your eyes were opened wide, before you could roll to either side, there they stood, the terrible dreads. It's not even out of the bed, and the dreads are right there. Did that ever happen to you? The terrible dreads are an awful bunch. If you let them in, they will ruin your lunch. If you let them in, they will steal your fun. If you let them in, they will make you run. Or they just won't leave if you let them in. Doesn't look very happy to be at the table with his good food, does he? He's trying to get away, but they're right there. Those terrible dreads, the things we fear, the things we worry about, the things we dread. A girl named Flo that I once knew, quite by mistake, began to stew because of homework overdue. When in tiptoe came the dreads, and all their poison they did spread, until Flo's homework grew and grew. Poor Flo thought it was really true that homework was a thing to dread. Oh, she made her job so much harder because she let those dreads come in. And then her homework seemed to be way bigger, and the pile got bigger and bigger. But you know dreads, they're not content with just a little dreading spent. They'll make you go full force indeed, and dreading spread with lightning speed. Before poor Flo could even think, the terrible dreads had made her sink into blackness dark as ink of dread. Where is she? She's not in her chair doing her homework anymore. What's she doing there? I think she's hiding. I think she's feeling bad. Flo dreaded going to the store. She dreaded housework even more. And soon she dreaded brushing teeth. Then she dreaded changing sheets, to make her bed, to wash her head, to hear what's said. Oh, those dreads, they really were messing her up. Maybe you've gotten that worried that you've dreaded everything. Didn't want to do your work. Till everything made Flo dread. Looks like even playing made Flo dread. So she stayed in bed. Then one depressing day, poor Flo was sitting on the rug, you know, and lying there upon a chair. A book she spied. It wasn't just a book of fun. A book about how cars should run or airplanes fly or growing dates or how to keep from being late. It was a special book. What book did she find? This book, her father said, was old and almost everywhere was sold. Still, he said, it is seldom read, for most have a terrible dread of reading it. Flo thought about her dad so tall, and she thought, I think I can recall that when life makes him feel sad or overcome or bad or mad, there is a book that makes him glad, and this is it. And there's her father and mother looking at the books, and the terrible dreads are separating her. They're keeping her away from everything and everybody. The words he said were truth and life and cut through the darkness like a knife. Now all the dreads had filled the room with such an overflowing gloom that Flo could barely see to read. Her heart was pounding in her ears, and as her eyes filled up with tears, Flo prayed a prayer, please help. The book fell open in her hand, and Flo prayed, God, please help me stand against these dreads. I think she just needed a little help. And there in chapter 22, 1 Chronicles, a verse she knew, a story of a king, his son, and what God told them must be done. To build a temple was God's plan. But first these two must understand. In verse 13, so plain to see, was God's command so carefully. For prospering these plans well made, dread not, fear not, be not dismayed. Dread not, That means we shouldn't dread of anything. Fear not. We can't be afraid, or we shouldn't be afraid. Sometimes we are, and then we have to ask God for help. But we shouldn't be afraid, because God is there. And be not dismayed. Plans for the temple is what they're looking at. Temple is like a church for our Jewish friends. Flo blinked and thought, and blinked again. These words were spoken to famous men who were ordained by God's own hand to bring about God's mighty plans. And still, like Flo, it must be so that there were things they did not know, that there were things they had forgot, that there were things they were not taught. For these men had to choose to fight the dreads or the kingdom lose. Her heart was pounding in her ears. And as her eyes filled up with tears, Flo prayed a prayer, please help. Those dreads were starting to take over and feel very big and very heavy and very scary. So Flo asked for help. Sometimes we need to ask for help as well. I will not dread. Flo spoke aloud. I will not give in to this cloud. So dark and heavy over me. God is my strength. Praise God, I'm free. And with these words, the strangest thing, at once the birds began to sing. I will not dread, Flo spoke once more. And all the dreads ran out the door. Yay! Go, dreads, go. You see them running away, and the birds begin to sing. Flo smiled and said, why, they were not strong at all, for all I had to do was call on God's strength through God's mighty Son, and all the dreads are on the run. Looking out the window. Flo jumped and for joy and ran, it's true, to do all the things she loved to do. Homework, yay! She was happy to do her homework. She cleaned her house and sang with glee, God's truth has really set me free. Got clothes on the clothesline. She's sweeping and cleaning and helping around the house. What a good thing to do. Bet she's not bored. Now, if the dreads come to your door or stand beside your bed to pour their lying thoughts into your head, say no. Say no. I will not dread. The end. Yay! So that was our book for today, and I hope that you will be able to chase the dreads away and do good things and help each other, especially if your parents need some help at home. Who could be a good helper? You, of course. God made you wonderfully, and you can do anything. You can be the best helper ever. Thank you, and goodbye from Miss Tracey. Have fun!